Hello, dear friends, and welcome to the second episode of IAAM Growth Talks, which is all about gaining industry insights for the benefit of learning and development professionals. And so, in this podcast, we call in experts from the industry who know the inside out picture, and this can help the learning professionals to help serve the industry better. So, today on our podcast, we have a very special guest, a very good friend who has even come as an expert on our Tuesday Learnings platform before. And we have Mr. Shankar Vishwanath with 30 plus years of experience in the industry, that is almost 3 decades. With 10 years, especially in learning and development, Shankar has trained across 14 plus countries, 25,000 plus professionals. He has worked with companies like Titan, Aditya Birla Group, Glenmark, and the list goes on. If I take the names, the entire podcast will be covering only the names. So, and he can deliver these trainings in almost 7 languages. So, and that is why I call our guest so special today. So, welcome, Shankar, to this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Elvis. It's an absolute pleasure to be here
So,
and looking forward to.
let's fire the questions.
Yes, please shoot.
Great. I hope all the viewers enjoy this and get a lot of great learnings from here. So, Shankar, from your 29 years of experience as a leader in leadership roles in different companies, according to you, where do you see that disconnect between what the trainers are trying to give and what the business requires?
Sure. So let me set the context first a little bit. When I was working, my role was very, very different. So as you know, I'm a chartered accountant,
Mm-hmm.
worked for about 29 years in the corporate world, starting from KPMG.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my entire career began, which was known as Ferguson in India at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Then moved on to the advertising and media space. So a good amount of my career was spent in advertising and media.
Okay.
And I wanted to be the CFO by the age of 40. That was the aspiration,
Mm-hmm.
which happened when I was 38
Okay.
in Honeywell.
Mm-hmm.
And then moved to Dubai, worked as a regional finance director for Interpublic Group's Middle East communication in Dubai. And then came back to India and worked for about 4 years with
Mm-hmm.
RSM Astute Consulting, which was my last assignment. So
Okay.
life actually took a full circle from being a CA, starting in a professional firm, to finally ending in a professional firm. Now, that was my journey in the corporate world.
Okay.
2014 was my last year when I came out of the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
And now, with this background, you can imagine a chartered accountant, literally a back office guy, labeled as, tum log to kya kaam karte ho? What do you do? You just crunch numbers and things like that. So
Right.
that's the background with which I entered the training and development field.
Mm-hmm.
2014 had saturated. I went to an organization called ICBI for actually a personal reason, which I wouldn't want to state in this podcast, but
Okay.
that reason did not get sorted out. But I ended up enrolling myself for their soft skills
Mm-hmm.
program. So it was literally like a second innings beginning for me. And
Okay.
then, of course, they say there is no looking back. For the last 11 years, I've been in the learning and development space. So when I look at the industry right now as it is happening, the disconnect that I see is trainers are more focused on content,
Mm-hmm.
on delivery, which is good in one way. Yes, it has to be engaged, all that is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But corporates look at, how does your training solve my problem? How does your training help me increase whatever? Could it be a sale? Could it be reduce attrition? I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I did this program for an engineering company a
Okay.
couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they want a sales program, basic sales program,
Mm-hmm.
plus communication and interpersonal skills, etc., embedded in it, along with negotiation. So the program got over,
Mm-hmm.
and at the end of the program, the owner's daughter said, I want you to speak to these 20 people that you trained today,
Okay.
spend about 20 minutes each, and give me your report on them. That's a very unique request. This is not
Right,
said
right.
before. So this happened during the, we traveled together and she said, I need you to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, no problem. So I sat individually with them for about 20 minutes, understood their strengths, understood their areas of improvement,
Mm-hmm.
understood their aspirations of what they see themselves in the organization. Where would they like to be in the organization maybe 4 or 5 years later? What
Okay.
potential do they have that
Mm-hmm.
the organization can harness, etc., etc.? And
Mm-hmm.
I will be very happy when I'm stating this that I've been told that it helped a lot. Now that's a value addition according to you. The
Right.
training, yes, you will do, no doubt. But these kind of value additions, if you provide,
Mm-hmm.
can you do something to reduce attrition? Can you do something that will make them apply what they learn at the workplace? That's what people are looking at. So that's where the disconnect is. Don't be just a good delivery person. Don't be
Right.
running behind just content and PPT, etc. I say that PowerPoint में ना power है ना point है within you.
Okay.
So that's the disconnect I think the trainers have today. So that is what they need to work upon.
Great. I'll remember this. PowerPoint में ना power है ना point है. Fantastic. So, coming to a connected question related to the first one,
Sure.
like most freelancer trainers focus on skill building, they focus on the content delivery, as you said. But what the business owner is actually looking is for the ROI.
Correct.
So how does actually the money flow? How does the entire operations flows, and how does this L&D budget work? Like this inside picture, I think maybe like even I deal with trainers on a daily basis. I think that they lack this inside story.
Sure.
So since you have already been like almost now 3 decades, so could you throw some light on that?
Sure. So the budgeting process literally starts, depending again on which financial year you're working. Is it the
Mm-hmm.
calendar year? Some organizations work on the calendar year
Mm-hmm.
because they report to the foreign parent companies and they work Jan to December.
Mm-hmm.
And certain others, for all Indian practical tax regulations and other purposes, work on April to March. So again,
Right.
depending on where the organization has positioned himself in terms of budgeting,
Mm-hmm.
it starts like around January. If it is a company that is doing April to March, the process will start around January. It's
Okay.
already started now. For
Right.
example, I have pitched to at least 8 to 10 companies as of now with no result. Why I'm saying no result? Because they are in the process of budgeting
Okay.
and specific budgets do get created. And one of the things I'm noticing currently
Mm-hmm.
is apart from training, a lot of companies do budget for wellness of the employees,
Okay.
wellness and well-being of the employees. Because after COVID, there's a new trend which has started.
Mm-hmm.
Training is okay. You take somebody for a 2 day, 3 day offsite. You make them go through a lot of activities and there's a lot of fun and learning is there, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But at the end of it, when they come back, it's like a balloon that is really blown up and then somebody picks up in the normal stress and
Right.
other things take over and it goes off. But a
Right.
business program is very different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How can a company address the well-being of an employee? The employee goes through a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
It could be mental stress, it could be physical stress, it could be emotional stress, it could be family stress, etc., etc.
Right.
So, one of the things that a trainer needs to keep in mind while approaching is provide a solution. Don't
Mm-hmm.
position yourself as a soft skills trainer or as a leadership trainer, let's say. Okay, I'm a leadership trainer. No, I help organization build leaders in such a way that it'll help you reduce attrition in your teams.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Makes more sense than calling yourself just a soft skills trainer.
Very tangible outcome.
What happens is that, am
Mm-hmm.
I audible?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What happens is that the budgets are given by the individual departments. Let's say
Okay.
there is a IT department, there is a marketing department, there's a sales department. So each leader also has certain budgets under him or her, which they
Okay.
can harness. So it's not necessary that the HR is always the person or the department that's doing the budgeting for training. So the trainers also need to know which is the right bulb or the right plug to be pushed or the right button to be pressed so that their program can be positioned more from a solution perspective. And if they do it right, and that's why I'm very confident that with these 10 proposals floating around, I'm sure come April or May, at least 4 or 5 of them will convert because they need those kind of trainings. And we position ourselves more as solution provider. So yes, ultimately the CFO, because for budget approvals, the head of each department needs to be aligned. So various stakeholders need to be aligned apart from just the HR. This they need to keep in mind. Yeah.
Great. So, Shankar, there is one more, struggle that the trainers go through, and that is, how do they justify their pricing? Like there is a lot of dilemma and internal, dialogue going on. Is this the right price? Am I charging more? Am I charging less?
Right.
How do they justify their pricing?
Sure. So first of all, I would say it is not price. And I learned this the hard way. It's an investment. Position it like that. When you look at something like a price, now I'm talking like a finance guy.
Okay.
When you look at something like a price or a cost, it's done and over. But when you look at something like an investment, there's a return.
Right.
When you look at putting some money in fixed deposit, even if you put, say, 1 lakh rupees today, at the end of the year, you know that you're going to get 1,07,500, if assuming 7.5% interest rate. So what is that return on investment that the client can expect? Demonstrate it. Now, many trainers don't know this, seriously. Return on investment, very important. Now, we as trainers know that there are various levels up to which your trainings can be taken in terms of the impact that it can have. Let me for brevity's sake, expand a little bit more on this. So there are four levels. First level is the reaction. How was your training? Did the learners really like it? Did they like the content? Did they like the venue? Did they like the food, etc., etc.? That's mere feedback expressed immediately after the training program. Second level is learning. Now, if your training cannot demonstrate that your learners or the delegates have learned, and so we are talking about adult learning, somebody comes into your training room with this knowledge, and even if they leave with this kind of knowledge, that means that there has been an improvement in the knowledge.
Has happened.
So you do a pre and a post assessment always as a trainer have that. Whatever program, let's say we are doing leadership, we are doing design thinking, we do train the trainer, we do emotional intelligence, a lot of things we do. We ensure that for each of the program, there is a pre-assessment sent to the HR heads to be circulated amongst the delegates who are attending. We get the results and begin the training program by publishing them in front of them, saying this is how you performed. So we are starting at this level. And at the end of the session, we again administer the post-assessment to at least demonstrate that, boss, learning has certain. Now, if they don't apply, it's not our fault to an extent. Then the third level, behavior. Now, we know that behavior takes time. Let's say I fold my hands like this. Now, you ask me to keep my hand here like this for the rest of the interview or this podcast. I'm not going to be able to do it. At some point, I'll again go back because this is my comfort zone. So behavior takes time. And so we insist that for behavior, we will need the support of the HR function or the line function so that the behavior of the person is observed. The behavior of the person can be interviewed. But those are additional services, Elvis. Those don't come along with the training service itself because evaluation takes time and behavior takes time to change. And the last is return on investment. Now, you tell me, if you are the sales head of an organization, okay, and maybe 15 employees are working under you. Let's take an hypothetical example. And 4 of them have communication issues and they are customer facing. So I come to you and I say, okay, because of these communication issues, What do you think is happening within your organization? So let's say you say, because they don't communicate well, today I think that we lose on an average X amount of sales. Okay. So after this training program, can you quantify that? I asked them, can you quantify that? Give me in numbers. Once they give in numbers, I can say that, hey, I will ensure that this number goes up. So there is a measurable element which is there, how much the sale had gone down. And I'm saying, because of my training, how much will it go up by? Now that's a value which is quantifiable.
Right.
That value is the net benefit they got from training minus, sorry, the gross benefit they got from training minus the training expenses, which includes the trainer's fees, the venue fees, and the stay and food and everything put together. If that number is a positive number, which means that they've got return on investment.
Exactly. Fantastic.
Benefit that they've got minus the cost that they are incurring divided by the cost. If it is positive, I'm saying you've got return on investment.
Right.
And I demonstrate this. And anything can be quantified. You make the corporate do it. You don't do it.
Okay.
Anything can be quantified in terms of cost increasing or revenue going down. That's all you need to begin this exercise.
Right. So it's basically like each of these ROIs are connected, right? Like if the learning only has not happened, they have not gained the knowledge, then how will the behavior change? If behavior does not changes, how will the tangible ROI change?
Absolutely. So that is why it is important to demonstrate. Now my learning, second level is demonstrating that learning has happened.
Right.
Third level is takes time, as I said, over a period of time. Framework conditions need to be favorable.
Right.
Bosses need to allow them to apply what they learn. There are a lot of other things. They need to have the basic intent to go back and apply. But if numbers can be given, and again, a lot of times you don't get this because of confidentiality and things.
Right. Exactly.
So that's something that we need to be aware of. But as long as they are giving, and as long as you sign that non-disclosure agreement and you're able to work on it, I'm sure it is possible to demonstrate the ROI.
Perfect. So Shankar, being you have worked with so many Fortune 500 companies, so if you could name just three main challenges that these companies at this level face, which the trainers overlook, which could be addressed by the trainers.
So one certainly is productivity. Productivity could be in terms of the way I'm working currently. Because 8 hours is given that I need to work. But am I productively using that time? Am I even aware of it? Where is my time going and why am I sitting late? What is happening at the end of the day? Why am I spending 14 hours a day in the office? Really, that so much work is there. So am I productively using my time? Number one. Reduction in attrition is another area that they are looking at. And leadership, the top leadership today, the high pots, particularly after COVID, the way I look at it, the leadership has changed. The leaders that used to be earlier are finding it quite difficult to handle the hybrid working conditions because there's no face-to-face interaction. You imagine this interview happening, both of us sitting in a nice training room or a restaurant or wherever, nice, cozy environment would be very different from what it is happening today here.
Right.
That human element is missing a lot. And
you say that COVID has brought a lot of change post-COVID?
Absolutely. In terms of the way employees are working, in terms of the way organizations are working, because hybrid has become a culture now, more or less a culture.
Right.
And many places, they are actually dreading it. They want to come back. But now, a lot of companies also, they kind of, how do I say this? They kind of worked on their costs and infrastructure in such a way to minimize it during the COVID, because they had some offices which they would have given up. Because all that space is unutilized. Now, if you have to go back and take that place, again, it means that you have to put higher investments. But is my sale supporting it? Is my cash flow supporting it? Is my capital supporting it? I don't know. So therefore, they prefer working hybrid, 2 days in the office, 3 days away, or 3 days in the office, 2 days away, whichever way you look at it.
Right.
This is affecting the mindset of the organization. the leaders, the employees, and the chain reaction continues downwards. So these are the challenges I think we're facing right now.
Shanker, as a
Innovation. The
leadership.
biggest challenge is innovation.
Okay.
Innovation has stalled literally. Creativity, innovation can come from anywhere. It need not necessarily be that those brains that can think only can get it. It can come from anywhere. So they need to foster innovation. That's another challenge. Yeah.
So Shankar, one more thing, like trainers are, there are so many, like soft skill is, we know it's an umbrella term, but there are so many niches under that, and then micro niches.
Correct.
So which do you think is like a hot cake? Like which training areas is, selling a lot, like there is a high demand, which any trainer who's listening, any L&D professional who's listening, who's budding or who's stuck somewhere, hearing this podcast, which are those three areas according to you, which can, help them monetize better than the others?
Sure. So again, Elvis, it depends entirely on one's skill. And this is what I understood when I entered this field. What are my skills? What are my strengths, core strengths that I can leverage? Number one. So I would ask them to do this as an exercise. First, list down your own strengths.
Okay.
Using that, who is it that you relate to as audience? For example, I come with 29 years of corporate experience. So I've worked as a CFO, I've worked as a finance director, I have worked as an associate director, I have led large teams. When I say large, they're really large. At some point, about 184 people were reporting to me.
Okay.
That's large. And I was reporting to about 64 MDs myself. That's large.
Right.
Apart from wherever I'm sitting, all the senior people there. So about 70 plus people I was reporting to. I was handling 180 plus people. So that is large number, isn't it?
Exactly.
So the thing to remember here is that, sorry, just give me a moment. I think we need to take a cut here. Somebody is at the door. I'm so sorry.
So Shankar, like as we know, soft skill is an umbrella term, and but we know that there are so many niches, micro niches under this. And at times, trainers are very confused, like, what is selling more and what is in more demand, which should I pitch myself and position myself as?
Right.
So what are the three training areas that you would recommend to the trainers?
Right. So first, before even they come to this stage, they need to understand their niche. You said use this word niche or niche as it is called.
Right.
How does it emanate? So simple exercise. List down your strengths first. What is it that you're strong? So let's say I'm a CA. So finance is my strength.
Right.
I'm a leader. I have led large teams, 180 plus people, reported to 60, 70 people at one time. So report large teams. Then now over the period of last 10 years, soft skills, communication, EI, leadership, all that is my strength.
Right.
With this, who are the kind of people I can relate to? So because I'm a leader and I've done that for the last 29, 30 years, I'm able to relate with mid-level to senior level. And because I've also come up the ranks, I also relate to the junior level people.
Right.
The target audience in terms of trainees is that. But who's the decision maker for them? For the mid-level, it is the senior level. For the senior level, it is the CEO and who will take the decision. Many times. Now, these are the first two elements. What can I do for them? So, for example, because I am a CA, I can help CAs, professionals across CA, ICWA, lawyers, doctors, all professionals. And because I'm trained as a business coach, I can help them to grow their business. Right. I can help them with certain things that if they do, will get them organic growth because I have been trained in that. Third thing is, are they willing and do they have the ability to pay for it?
Right.
Very important. Very, very important. Now, let me give you a very concrete example here. The CA, I have tried this with many CAs. They have the ability, but many of them don't have the willingness to pay.
Right.
Why? Because they have taken this Hippocratic oath that they will not do advertising to get customers. My thing is, Here you're not doing actually advertising, you're actually doing educational imparting, which is not advertising. You impart knowledge. And when you impart knowledge, a lot of people start looking at you like an authority and they want to come to you. So you're not soliciting them, they want to come to you. But somehow they don't seem to understand this, many of them, but a few of them do. So these three things are very important to determine what should I take up as a niche, number one. Having done that, position yourself more as a problem solver. For example, now we are doing a lot of design thinking programs.
Okay.
Design thinking, one may say it's nothing but, critical thinking or creative thinking. Yes, no doubt about it. But there's a certain process which helps you to keep the emotions aside when you use design thinking. And you put 4 senior people, 10 senior people in a room, more often than not, it is the ego clashes that happen. It's my decision versus your decision kind of stuff. So having done training programs, we don't leave it there. We also ensure that we give them projects in the future when they go back to apply what they learned so that we can demonstrate concrete results. And that's what matters. Previously, we discussed that ROI is very, very important. So as trainers, currently in the market, if you ask me what is selling, one is emotional intelligence. Because everybody has gone through that turmoil after COVID, and they're still going through, according to me. Mental wellness is a big thing today. Leadership never goes out of style. Design thinking is a new concept which has come. I'm not saying very new, but it is a relatively new concept which has come. So if I can integrate some of these and come up with some offerings which will help the corporate not just engage, but also gain traction in terms of concrete returns, that is what the trainers should be concentrating. Now, before they do, they need to look deep within to say, do I have these skill sets or not? So no Tom, Dick, and Harry can just walk in and say, I'm a soft skills trainer, I will do this. You cannot. So niche is very important. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. Find your niche first and be the best. We always keep talking about being a cook. So we have all the ingredients to cook. But what is that one dish I want the whole world to remember me for? For me currently, that is leadership. For me currently, that is design thinking. So these two things I will say, if they want, not selling, we are here to support them. We're doing that.
So well answered.
Yeah.
So, Shankar, you are a pro at 7 languages, right? You speak in 7 different languages from what I saw on your profile. That I'm sure it helps you to, personalize and connect so well with your learners. Because language is like one of the, most of the powerful tools to connect when you speak in their language.
Correct.
What advice you would give for trainers so that they have that personal connect? So like it's connect before content. So
Correct.
what advice would you give them to make that connect with the learners?
Sure. So one biggest advice, and I've seen this in many trainers, that they don't do, is number one, go to the venue at least an hour before the program.
Okay.
When you go, many times you'll figure out that at least a few of the delegates come early.
Right.
Start interacting with them. Have casual conversations. Have small talks with them. You can find out their names. You may not know their names. You can find out a few names. And when the session starts, you can address them by names. People will say, "Baap re, isko to sara naam bhi malum hai. Naam to malum hai. I know only 4 names." But it sets the tone to say that, hey, this guy walks that extra mile to build that connect. During the lunch breaks, during the tea breaks, go and talk to them one-on-one and don't talk to the same people. Many times you'll figure out that when you go to seminars, when you go to symposium conferences, you'll find a lot of groups being formed. And then you figure out every break, the same groups are together.
Exactly.
Be a floating guy so that you figure out what is happening. Are they facing any difficulties? Are they not understanding something? Do you want them to, do you want them to be told in a particular way, their learning style? So you can adapt to it during the next session.
Right.
After the session, unless it is really urgent, wait. Some people may want to speak to you. So
Exactly.
be there, be empathetic to
Mhm.
the learner. And
Mhm.
that's what is one of the biggest thing that has helped me build, I'm not saying that reputation, but I'm known for that in my trainings.
Great. Wow. This is
That
some
one-on-one
great learning.
connections that I do.
I
Very,
think this learning is only comes from your experience. It does not, no book will tell you these
no book will tell
practical
you this.
tips.
Very important. This very, very important. That you be empathetic. And post-training, you
Right.
may not directly share the number with them because of whatever restrictions put by the organization that you're training for.
Mhm.
But if they want, say that I'm available, get in touch with your organization and they'll connect you to me and
Great.
help you
Great.
after that. So that's important
That's
according. Yeah.
so Shankar, one more thing, one more, like this was not a planned question, but at times training pics, posting these training pics on social media and all, can you throw some light on that? Because sometimes, trainers may catch themselves at the wrong place after posting. And so what's the picture around this?
So if you're doing for corporates,
Mm-hmm.
be very, very clear what is the policy of the corporate.
Okay.
Seek specific permissions before you post.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
social media is fine. One thing is that, yes, you need to be visible. You need to be showing that you're doing this.
Right.
Fair. But
Mm-hmm.
if it intimidates certain people and if it violates the policy of the corporate, that's the
Mm-hmm.
end of it. One, you've not followed the protocol. Two, you're not going to get any other trainings after that.
Right.
So be clear, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you're doing public workshops, take permissions of people because some people may not like to be visible on
Right.
the social media. So, for example, we did a program for one of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest management institutes in Mumbai.
Okay.
We trained about 65 students of theirs in
Mm-hmm.
the MMS and in
Mm-hmm.
design thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We've not posted a single picture because we don't know. They're children now. According to me, they are still children. Graduating
Right.
is still children only for us.
Right.
We don't know. They may be active in social media. We don't know how people will take it. So we seek strong permissions before we do anything of this nature. And we do it only with the permission. Second,
Mm-hmm.
you may not want to state the name of the company. So you can
Mm-hmm.
probably say it's a company in the pharmaceutical sector. You don't have to state the name of the company.
Right.
So it makes it more generic.
Mm-hmm.
Use pictures that may not be very close-ups of people.
Exactly. Uh-huh.
So follow these protocols.
So Shankar, but how
The
would how
social
would
media
these
is not
trainers
everything,
how
you
would
know.
the trainers come to know what's the policy of this company? Do they
Ah,
directly speak to the stakeholders and
yes,
frankly,
absolutely.
rather than getting into some problem and not getting repeat business?
Speak to the HR, speak to the leaders, and figure out whether we are allowed to do it or not.
Right.
Not allowed, don't do it. Simple.
Great. Fantastic. So Shankar, coming to the towards the conclusion, like how do you see AI is changing this industry?
Yes. That's the
Interesting.
new dragon in the world, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So, a lot of places it is changing.
Uh-huh.
Now, first things first,
Mm-hmm.
I use AI. It's not that I don't use AI. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning AI. So I'm not ashamed to say that, because if you don't keep pace with what is happening around you, you'll
Mm-hmm.
be left out.
Exactly.
No doubt about it. In the last 11 years, I have upgraded myself so much that
Mm-hmm.
it's helping me a lot now. So
Right.
having said that, now what is it? What am I doing in AI or how am I understanding AI
Mm-hmm.
and where I can use it? Now, there are certain things that a trainer does by default. One is content development.
Right.
One is social media posts,
Mm-hmm.
right? And certain processes that the trainer does repeatedly. For example, getting a client, discussing with them, creating a proposal, sending them, tailor making it, etc., is
Mm-hmm.
a repeated process.
Right.
Everybody does it. Every trainer does it. But it takes nearly 2 hours, 3 hours for certain people to put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Use AI. There's something known as custom GPTs today. It's a
Mm-hmm.
learning model, no doubt, but you can customize it to your needs by giving it certain instructions in
Mm-hmm.
such a way. And coupled with the instructions, when you create it and keep it for yourself, it understands the way you think.
Right.
And when you say get started, once you have created that custom GPT, it'll ask you certain pinpointed questions. You give an answer to it, it will create your proposal automatically.
Okay.
At least you've got the first draft within a few seconds or within a minute or so.
Right.
And then you can customize it to the need of your customer. But all the basic stuff is taken care of by AI.
Right.
This, with the advent of AI agents, now agents are autonomous things that are happening in AI. They can actually converse with the environment. They can take decisions that a human being can take.
Okay.
Custom activities are still more text oriented. They can help you with text. So content, posting, they can help you with that.
Right.
But AI agents are going to literally take over. Let's say you are looking at the chat bots and things like that. And that's going to improve a lot. So they can do a customer service ka job. They can actually do a training content developer ka job, provided they're built in that manner.
Okay.
So keeping it short, is AI really going to disrupt? It's started to disrupt. You cannot say it is not. But is there anything to be afraid of? The answer is no. Humans have created AI.
Right.
So it cannot replace AI. It can only augment. It cannot replace humans. It can only augment with you.
Exactly.
So make use of AI to make it do certain jobs which are very mundane and time consuming. And you will save a lot of time as a trainer. Because when you're a freelancer, many times, to put it in very layman's language, you're the chaprasi and you're the CEO of your organization and do everything else in between.
Right.
So who does marketing? I do marketing. Who does sales? I do. Who does operations? I only do. Who handles your finances? I am there now.
Right.
Who does your recruiting, HR? And I do. Who's your management? Me. So literally, if you're doing all of this, then somewhere you will not justify certain aspects of it. So I think trainers should focus on what their strength is, and that is creating content, strong content, delivering, engaging delivery, experiential delivery, ensuring that ROI is delivered. And if for certain other things that is required, use AI.
Great.
So this is what I would say.
So Shankar, coming to the last question, and I was waiting for this question. Okay. I see you so consistent on LinkedIn.
Yes.
I think you are one of the most consistent, you consistently post, and I think you're doing it for years together now.
Yeah.
And it's like without fail, you do it. So how do you manage this? Like, how do you go about creating this post? Because one of the biggest problem with any professional who wants to, leverage social media is consistency.
Correct.
They may post for some time, but then again, some emergency or something happens. So how do you manage this show?
So, it all started a few years ago, and I would say during COVID, maybe before, slightly before that. But the consistency improved a lot during COVID.
Okay.
And it is still continuing. So I learned something during that time. And now AI is helping for me to, make it even faster. One is the type of content you put out there. Regardless of what content you put, be careful and be mindful that you're giving value in every post that you do.
Okay.
The reader should get an aha moment reading your post. Today you see LinkedIn, most of the content looks similar. Most of it. There'll be a hook, no doubt. There'll be some image, a typical image, 100 ways to hack AI or whatever use the typical posts are coming.
Right.
You can see that it is all done through AI only because from the wordings you can figure out.
Yes.
This is where I try and differ a little bit.
Okay.
So there is the left and the right brain combination, right? Everybody likes logic and everybody likes emotion also. So one of the models I use is that. And I learned this from a good business coach out there, Mr. Sanjay Wadhwa.
Okay.
And I want to give him credit for it.
Great.
So, this model tells you that whatever is your message, be clear with that. Which means that message is the key learning from the post that you're doing.
Okay.
Now, is there any precedent? Where is it coming from? What are the thoughts? What is the logic behind it? Like that. That touches the logical brain of the reader who's more logical.
Right.
Support it with some metaphor. That touches the emotional side. So it's like metaphor is like a story.
Right.
Something that is. So how do we define a metaphor? All that glitters is not gold. So why am I saying this? So now come to some statistics, facts. Support it with a story. Either your story or story of your client or story which is read, known, but customized to this particular situation. Good to read till now. But finally, what actions should your reader take after reading your post?
Right.
Now, this thing can be converted into a custom GPT.
Okay.
It's a model. I told you it's a model. Anything that's a writing model or a language model can be converted into an AI custom GPT.
Okay.
Then if you just feed in those 5-7 elements, it gives you the post in 10 seconds. And then, of course, you read it and customize it. You don't post it blindly.
Right.
Many a times. So, plus your personal stories. Many people don't like to tell their personal stories. Personal stories is what get the maximum traction in LinkedIn. Many people are out there just to sell. Don't sell. Give value. There is a process. People don't buy from you unless they know you, like you, trust you.
Right.
So for that knowing, liking, trusting is going to take time. Once they know you, like you, trust you, they may try you.
Right.
Let them try you, which means they will buy you. Once they buy you, provide so much of value that they will repeat you.
Got it.
And then they will recommend you. This is a process you need to follow. Even if you're sending a friend request or a message for somebody, it's not a salesy message. Thank them for something that they've done. And then start a little conversation. I keep doing this. Would you be interested? I can share this with you on a daily basis. Appreciate what they are doing. Build relationship. Then sell. There's a research. I'll just share a little research that was done in the US. So a company was seeking some feedback. Okay. So they did this in 2 towns. In one town, they sent a pre-stamped envelope along with the questionnaire, and they sent it to 100 houses. And they said, whoever responds out of this, we will pay them $50.
Okay.
Parallelly, in another town, they sent the same envelope, pre-stamped envelope, the same questionnaire, and put a $5 note inside.
Okay.
You'll be alarmed. From this side, maybe 3 or 4 responses came. On the other side, nearly 68% responses came.
Oh.
Why? Because I've given you value.
Right.
The principle of reciprocity says that when you give value, people will, at some point of time, think to give value back. And this is where the concept of return gift also came in birthdays. You see, many a times you see who has got a gift for you. Only that person gets a return gift many times.
Exactly.
So LinkedIn may give value, be consistent, and of course, there are little things that you can do and not do. So what you should do, half an hour before you post, maybe, or 15-20 minutes before you post, go on LinkedIn and comment on other people's posts.
Okay.
Why should someone comment on your post? Think. If you're not commenting on anyone's post, and commenting is not just like, hey, interesting, thank you. Put something meaningful.
Add value to that post.
Add value to that post. Even those get you traction in LinkedIn.
Right.
And then post, and then reply to every single comment that comes on your post. Very important.
Great.
Does all this take humongous time? The answer is no. I've been doing it for 6 years. It doesn't take more than 1 hour of my time on LinkedIn every day.
Right.
Put together, including content creation, posting, everything put together. Doesn't take more than
And
1 hour.
Shankar, how do you go about, like, say, do you take it like on a week or a month? Like, do you sit on one day and post it for the rest of the week? You schedule it?
Currently, it is every day, currently.
Okay.
Every day. But if I am traveling, there are posts that can be scheduled.
Right.
Easily on LinkedIn, very easy. So I sit and maybe spend about a couple of hours and do some. If I'm going on, let's say 6-7 days, that's all it takes me to prepare those 7 posts.
Right.
I'll schedule it every single day at a particular time, standard time, and it comes automatically. And
So
once
one
it comes,
question that comes, Shankar, mostly is like how often should we post? What time should we post? Like, is there any guideline on that?
so how often for beginners? At least 3 days a week. You want to be more consistent? I post 7 days a week.
Uh-huh.
There's no rule as such, but 3 days a week is good enough.
Right.
Give valuable content. Maybe sell once a week, not more than that. Give valuable content. Is there a time? I have no idea. Nowadays, some people say you can post in the morning and then
Mhm.
again repost the same thing in the evening.
Oh,
This a
okay.
repost means copy it and do it as a new post, not just share the same post. Copy it and share
Okay.
it as a new
Okay.
post.
Okay.
Because Indian audience work as per the morning timings
Right, right, right.
and the Western world works as per the evening timings.
Exactly,
So you
exactly.
may get traction there also. So you can do that. And there's no hard and fast rule as such.
Mhm.
Maybe sometimes people, when they're going to work, they may check. Sometimes they may
Right.
take some break and work and check. The thing to remember is your post should get some traction in the first half an hour to 1 hour that you're posting. Then LinkedIn starts to promote it. So that
Right, right.
this is what I have noted. But am I a LinkedIn guru? The answer is no. I just do what I do. It's getting me some success, thank God,
Mhm.
and I'll keep doing it. So, and
Great.
don't get disheartened just because your post did not get any reviews or comments. Don't get disheartened.
Be
You're
consistent.
doing it for anybody. You're doing it for your own self.
Right.
So I look at it that way.
So great, Shankar. It was fantastic talking to you. I think everyone who will watch this podcast will get a lot of learnings.
Sure.
There were some very unique things that you shared. This especially was a wow for me, like reposting because I didn't never considered this about the time difference.
Right.
So this was fantastic, and so many other learnings from this podcast.
Yes. Thank you also for
And
having me.
any viewer who wants to get in touch with Shankar, the coordinates will be there in the description of this. If
Sure.
anyone wants Shankar to be an expert in their organization with the gold of experience that he has of 3 decades.
Sure.
So he's a
Thank
great
you.
person, great professional, and a
Thank
gentleman.
you so much. I would only want to say that, as
Mhm.
a professional, whoever you are, in whichever field, and
Mhm.
this is the summary of my 40 years of experience, I would say.
Mhm.
Remember that nothing in life comes easy
True.
and cheap. If you want good things, you need to pay for it. Number one. There are no shortcuts to success. You have to go through the grind.
Yes.
And forget about blaming anybody else in the world out there. You are your biggest catalyst or your biggest hurdle. Which you wish to be, you decide very early in life. There is this beautiful metaphor. Now let's come to one metaphor, last
Mhm.
metaphor.
Mhm.
A lot of people are hunters out there,
Mhm.
the trainers, because they want assignments. Anytime they get in touch with you for a program or anything, they want assignments. That's it.
Right.
If they get assignments, they are happy, which means they are a hunter. Today, if I hunt, I'm able to eat. But there are also some farmers out there.
Right.
The farmers are the ones who will, take the land, till it nicely, plow it, and then put the harvest. But once the harvest starts to reap, and which is nothing but the long drawn process of prospecting to leading to converting that lead to really nurturing them,
Right.
that tree, the mango tree or whatever tree it is, will give you fruits for the next 40 years. It
Wow.
means when you do this nurturing and when you do this process consistently, it will
Mhm.
give you results for a longer period of time. So that is what I would tell the aspiring trainers and others out there to do consistently. Rest
Great.
will be taken care of. So
So wonderful metaphor to end with.
thank you.
And once again, a very big thanks, Shankar, for taking time out,
My pleasure.
coming on this podcast. Thanks. Bye, everyone. And please watch and put in your comments and your feedbacks on this podcast. It will soon be there on YouTube. So, once again, good night and take care.
Good night. Thanks, Elvis, for having me. Good
Thank
night.
you.